This episode is sponsored by Humanity, the full-service marketing agency that was built for changemakers. We believe that bold ideas can shift culture and can shape the future. It's why we work with founders and innovators and leaders to amplify their bold visions and turn their purpose into impact. Through strategy, behavioral science, and storytelling, we help organizations bring clarity to who they are, what they stand for, and how they connect with the world. We're here to help changemakers like you build what's next. Learn more at humanityagency.com.
Well, welcome everybody to season 2 of the Sponsored Bex podcast. I'm Mark Harrison, your host. And this season, if you've been following along, you know that we are focused on changemakers. And I've got a couple of amazing changemakers here with me today, Jay and Adam from the Nation Network. And gentlemen, welcome.
How's it going, Mark?
I was about to say welcome to September, and then I was going to look at my watch and go like,
Right.
Oh my God, but it's October.
It's October
No,
tomorrow, basically.
Yeah.
Hockey season is around the corner.
Yeah. I've got to dust off my Halloween costume, I think, at any moment now. Hey guys, we're focused on changemakers, and I'd love for you just to love your thoughts on when I say the word changemaker, what comes to mind. And so maybe I'll throw it over to you first, Jay.
Oh, putting the pressure on me.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I guess my definition, it's something, someone, a group, whatever, that is changing thought, changing habits, changing things, changing how the game is played, changing how things are consumed. Anything that kind of, creates a new trend or leans into something that's happening and identifies, a niche within a trend, and having some kind of steward to galvanize and create a cohesive habit change to then flock to this new shiny thing that's fun to that you get attracted to. So that to me is kind of what changemaker is. I don't like to think me as an individual as one, because I'm a very modest person, but I believe in the movement and creating a movement that can evoke change.
Well, the good news is by the end of this podcast, not only will our audience be convinced that you're a changemaker, but you will be, because we know you are. So you're not getting off the hook. Like, you're not getting out of the penalty box that easy. Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
I think the idea of changemaker is someone who rejects the status quo, right? So takes, the way things are being done or have been done, or the way things are always done, and just ask the question, why? Like, why do we always do it like that? Why have we done it like that in the past? Why is that the way it needs to be? And rejects that kind of initial premise and decides to make a change, do something different. And when I think about our business together, Jay, like, I feel as though the fundamental story, and I'm sure we're going to get into that, of the start of the Nation Network and where we are today, is kind of rejecting the status quo and just saying, well, why not? Why not us? Why can't we change things?
Yeah, I love that. Reject the status quo, galvanize. Jay had me at flock. I was trying to figure out if I could fly away. I wasn't quite sure. But, to your point, that cohesive, let's go pursue something. So now we are going to go back, Jay, and talk about like the origins of the fan page around the Oilers and the founding of the Nation Network. Take us to the origin story, because it's fabulous.
Oh, how much time do we have? I find myself jumping down a rabbit hole on this, but the antithesis around starting, the Nation Network is, the broad mission of what we're up to now. But this all started in Edmonton, Alberta, with two guys that were super passionate about starting a business, but most passionate about their hockey team.
Yeah.
And, don't have a journalistic background, but just seeing kind of how I guess the media was there to inform us on what to know and what to think, and just totally seeing the fact that the fan voice was missing in this information share. It goes back to, sitting around, when and poker's still a big thing, but everyone had their poker game at their buddy's garage, where you sit around the table and you have 9 different takes or opinions about
Right.
the team. And a lot of that was missing, and that connectivity and engagement and community feel was missing in that space. And that was kind of the fire lit under our butts to want to try to prove people wrong, prove that you can create something like this, and that traditional media isn't the only source to get that information, but also to capture that those voices around the poker table.
So you said you weren't a journalist. What were you? Like, who were you then besides a poker player?
Oh, the boring banker.
A what banker?
A boring banker. You needed a building finance? I got you, Mark.
All right, you're a guy. Okay. You're dressed like a boring banker.
Well, yeah, I would have wore hoodies to the bank if they would have let me. But
Yeah.
I loved hunting. I was a business banker for a regional bank here in Alberta,
Got it.
and I loved the hunt. I didn't like the farming of the hunting.
No, I got it. Hence, that's why you became the kind of deal maker of the partner equation. And share with us, for our listeners, your partner's nickname, his handle.
Wanye?
What was his original nickname of your partner? I thought he had a Gretzky-esque nickname.
Oh yeah. So Wanye Gretz. Sorry, yeah. I'm like, huh? So
Yeah.
it started as Wanye Gretz, which was
Yeah.
a play on Kanye and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
And it just morphed into
Right.
Wanye because everyone's like Wanye.
Right.
And yeah, when the Nation started, I didn't know to type. I was just a commenter. He
Right.
could write the articles, and I was just like an aggressive commenter. And
Right.
one thing we did to create the illusion of traffic when we first started, because when you launch a website, the next day you check your analytics and you're like, oh, 0 page views. That's great. We would just hammer the content section under like a myriad of aliases.
Yeah.
So should someone come and enter the chat, they're like, whoa, this is a busy place.
Right. I love it. Wanye Gretz. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but
dropped the Gretz so long ago. I was like, what? I'm like,
Well, he's just Wanye now.
yeah. We've been doing this since 2007, Mark. I'm forgetting more than I've learned.
that's okay. I think I bought the shirt in 2007. So hey, Adam, before you joined up in the Nation Network, tell us a little bit about kind of your background. And it's interesting hearing Jay talk about the voice of the fan, because when I first heard that you were going to be hired at the Nation Network, like I went on social to figure out who this guy is, and I was like, holy smokes. Like, talk about comments. Like, when do you sleep? Like,
Yeah.
Tell us about you, like not the work side, but the sport business passion.
Yeah, listen, so before I was part of this whole family with the Nation Network and Playmaker Capital and now Better Collective and the parent company, I was working in media. So I worked at Bell Media for a long time. I worked in radio sales and TV sales. And I left that to join an agency, joined a small agency called Kingstar Media. And I was always really passionate about the sports media landscape specifically. I think when I was at Bell, I spent more time trying to sell the NFL on CTV and TSN than anything else. I didn't really care about, the Big Bang Theory or Grey's Anatomy. And then when I was at the agency, I was essentially convincing every client we have, you really got to be buying spots in the Leafs game or the Blue Jays game, even if it maybe wasn't the best fit for them, because I wanted to be closely tied to the sports media.
Yeah.
But what I learned at the agency side, and I was doing business development for the agency, is that there was not a lot of information out about the Canadian sports landscape. There's a lot of pundits and commenters in the US. There's great ones like Richard Deitch and Alex Karp who talk about the ratings and talk about who's broadcasting what game and what are the media rights deals. But in Canada, outside of the stories that would pop up every 12 years when the media rights for Hockey Night in Canada changed hands, there wasn't people talking about it. So a bit of a passion project. I started just posting stuff on Twitter. I immediately realized that there was a lot of people like me that were fascinated about how the sports media world actually works. How do advertising rates work, and who decides who's broadcasting the game, and why am I regionally blacked out of the Sens game, even though I'm in Kingston and am I close to Ottawa, all those kinds of things. And no one was doing it for Canada. So I started posting on Twitter, started talking about the ratings, started talking about, some of the misconceptions about the Canadian market. At the time, a lot of people would talk about, especially here in Toronto, how, the CFL, no one watched the CFL. And then I would sit there and I was a media buyer and I was like, I'm looking at the ratings. A lot of people watch the CFL. I hear a lot about, basketball is the biggest sport in Toronto. And I say, well, the ratings for the Raptors are actually not as good as you might think. So
right.
Started talking to people. I started, finding my way talking to journalists and showing up in, radio hits and TV a little bit. And just kind of spouting off. I don't want to say I was spouting off my hot takes per se. I was trying to be more informative than anything, but it was my way to just get a deep dive, and pretty quickly found myself talking to lots of people in the industry, and then made my way over to the Nation Network.
Right. The numbers speak the truth. So I love those hot takes. So maybe let's jump right to today. Talk to us today about what is the Nation Network? what would people find there? What's the business model? And maybe if you want to dive into a couple of your kind of key properties, but love first, we've gone all the way, Jay, hope buckle your seat here. We've gone from 2007 to 2025 with no pausing in between.
Yeah, well, the mission's still the same. The passion is to build community through sports content. That's what gets the TNN team up every day. And that is the mission that we're on. That's, I guess, qualifying us as change makers. The mission statement is to become the leading digital sports media brand in Canada. So, our roots were in hockey. It started as an Oilers blog. So that was, the path to growth to start. But as the passion, the passion poured out of just hockey to the Canadian sports fan. We love all sports. There's hockey fans that like baseball and baseball fans that like basketball. So, we branched out into other sports and started building verticals around basketball, around baseball, around tennis, anywhere, where there's Canadian audience and, Canadian athletes. That's kind of our guiding light on where we need to go. So that's where we're at today. We're in those sports. We're deepening the depth of each of those verticals. Some of the amazing wins that we've had, like joining Adam and the Playmaker family Adam was personally a catalyst to our business, because he was able to convince finally agencies that we were a great buy for them, because the ROI is much better than anything they can get. And our reach is actually quite immense once you actually looked at it. And Adam was able to package it up properly and speak the same language. So that gave us the resources to unlock those next levels of growth. And with growth and notoriety, it started giving us more attention from the right people. The media landscape is shifting. The digital space is, the place to be. And the fact that we're able to have conversations, to start naming some of these transformational properties, like a Hello and Welcome, like have Will and Alex make us their new home. The Barn Burner guys that were the morning radio show trio in Calgary to make us their home. Jeff Merrick to come aboard and launch the show. It's this is all stuff. If you told me in 10 years ago, I would just say you're a liar, because I don't see, we're going to keep doing this head down and we'll see where this goes. But the fact that we're, playing at that level and we're actually truly a challenger brand in this landscape is quite crazy. So that's the 2007 to now.
Amazing. And before we get to Adam, we talk about partners. Quick question for Jay. Are you the head coach? Are you the assistant coach? Are you the grinder? Are you the captain? Are you the fighter? Are you the trainer? Are you the goalie? Who are you? Or are you the fan?
One player? I definitely have a letter on my sweater. I don't know if I'm the captain or the assistant captain, but I definitely I have a letter. I like to fight for my team. Am I constantly dropping the gloves? No, but I will drop them when it's needed.
Got it.
And I'll say I'm an offensive defenseman.
Yeah, I'd say you're the wily veteran defenseman who people are a little scared of.
Yeah.
Love it. And Adam, what are you then?
I'm in and out of the lineup. It's a healthy scratch every once in a while, suspension here and there. I'm in the lineup. I'm making an impact, hopefully.
Look, I think with that voice, you could be the PA announcer.
Yeah, well, listen, I might retire to that at some point.
Yeah. We could have a new twist on the Great Face Radio, great body for radio.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. So Adam, talk to us today. Maybe talk a little bit about one or two of the properties.
Yeah.
Because I think what's really interesting about your business, and you made a comment earlier, which was interesting. You said sometimes in your past, you may have been recommending sports properties out of passion, but now you have an opportunity to recommend different types of sports properties from a change maker to change maker brand. So talk to us about that equation. And literally, if I'm a brand or an agency and you're pitching me, what's the story?
Yeah. So I'll go back really quick. 10 years ago, I was working in traditional media, and I remember saying to someone in the industry, what is our strategy around, sports and podcast? And they kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And this is, 2015, 2016. I said, we don't have a strategy. I mean, people watch TV, we have radio, all this kind of stuff. But I was seeing what was going on south of the border, right? I was seeing people like Bill Simmons launch The Ringer. I was seeing the Barstool Sports of the world's popping up and wondering, why is there not a Canadian version of that? Why is there no one domestically in Canada speaking to that 18 to 49 audience who doesn't watch Sports Center, who doesn't listen to the radio, but they're huge hockey fans. They're huge basketball fans. They love the Oilers. They love the Vancouver Canucks. So when we go out today and we talk to partners about what the Nation Network is, we like to say we're the home for every sports fan in Canada. And our mission really on the sales side and from a monetization side is to connect your brand with a fan. How can you get your brand in front of actual fandom? And there are places in your media plan for broadcast buys and Hockey Night in Canada and for all sorts of other things. But I think the community that we built with the Nation Network that goes all the way back to 2007 with Oilers Nation is a really unique place for a brand to position themselves. They want to be next to the culture and the fandom of the Toronto Raptors. Well, Will Liu and Alex Wong are two of the most trusted voices, not as like journalists and broadcasters, but as kind of like celebrity fans of the team. And their podcast is hugely listened to and their social channels are engaged with. And when we do a live event like we did with Holt Renfrew earlier this year, where we interviewed Bobby Webster, sat down, we packed a room, in minutes when we sell tickets. So being able to get your brand in front of, that young next generation of fans, I don't even say next generation, it's really the current generation of fans. It's hard to do in media. I've bought media, I've sold media, and it's a difficult audience that everybody wants. I'm able to go out now and we talk to our partners and say, you can sponsor us and you're going to hit that core audience. You're going to hit a Toronto Raptors fan and you're going to put them in a place where they're having a positive experience about the community around being a Raptors fan. And you get to tie Tangerine or, Coors Light or you name your brand to that fandom.
Hey, Mark Harrison here, and I'm so excited to share with you the upcoming news about the Sponsorship X Changemaker Summit happening November 13th to 15th in Toronto. We have partnered with the historic first ever Professional Women's Soccer Championship being staged by the Northern Super League. That means every one of our delegates is going to be attending the NSL Final on Saturday, November 15th at BMO Field. In addition, you're going to get 2 days of amazing content. Keynotes, workshops, panels, engaging opportunities to work together, led by speakers and facilitators from across North America. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have a small side football tournament. We're going to see some documentaries. We're going to eat and drink and celebrate together. And we're going to raise $20,000 in honor of Sponsorship X's 20th anniversary for Park Street Education. If you're a change maker, you want to learn more about how to be a change maker, the Sponsorship X Changemaker Summit is for you. www.sponsorshipx.com. And so when you guys think about the fan, because you keep talking about the fan, I love your consistency is amazing. How do you keep the pulse of the fan? Respectfully, Jay, this business has grown over 18 years. You're now on boards. You've got other businesses. You're a restaurateur. You're Explore Edmonton's poster child. How do you stay grounded in the fan?
It's in my DNA. I hacked my life to build a business around something I care so immensely about.
Explain
the V1 the V1 of the Nation was, and this is going back to 07, was to build this hockey blog that could pay for my car loan payment, buy season tickets, and pay for my golf membership. If I did that,
those objectives in life.
I'm living large.
As long as you go to the game and watch the game, you're happy.
Yeah, but that person's still in me. Granted, bigger business and my roles and duties and responsibilities have changed, but my passion for the game, and we talk about connecting brands with fans, but we're in the business of building communities. That is my real passion. So anything I'm connected to, even if it's outside of the Nation Network, it's community first, and that doesn't go away. It doesn't matter what technology is now available to us or what platforms are. We just build a team of like-minded people that can speak those languages on those platforms for us, but we all share that common cause. And that is the culture of TNN. And that's my job now, is to keep that culture intact, because it allows us to attract the talent we need to stay relevant on all the platforms in the digital space. And that still is a strong flame within me.
I love it.
I
Not
think
a Calgary flame, but a flame.
Well, I respect the Flames. I don't
All right. Just looking at your hat. Just throwing it out there.
Hey, we had a
Adam,
lot
sorry,
of Flames
yeah.
friends in the network as well. I mean, listen, the way like the business has grown a lot in the last few years, especially as we've really leaned into audio video as a new platform. That's given us the opportunity to bring on a lot of what we would call talent. You know, what we talk about the barn burner guys being former radio hosts. We talk about Jeff Merrick, you know, on Hockey Night in Canada on TV, moving everything to digital. I think that, you know, the way we've tried to, you know, keep the pulse of the fan is by not being super prescriptive editorially on what our teams do. We have dozens of websites, you know, Oilers Nation, Daily Faceoff. We produce, I think last month we put out 17,000 pieces of social content. We do 90 hours of live video on YouTube that turns into podcast every single week during the season. There's kind of no way to sit as a traditional media company and have an editorial desk that's going to set, here are the talking points and here's what we're going to talk about. We got to let people run. So we have immense trust in our talent that we're not going to tell Jeff Merrick how to storytell about the NHL. He knows that better than anyone. We just want to facilitate it. We're going to make sure that we put him in the best light. We bring great partners to monetize the show and let him do his thing. So I think if you were to ask our talent, they'd say, I kind of feel like I own my own show, right? I don't have been told what to do. I don't have a producer in my ear. I'm essentially just saying
You're journalists again. They're not talking heads.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it goes back to what Jay's saying about, you know, what are the takes that you'd have around your poker table or around a bar stool talking about the team. That's what our guys are doing, and they know better than anything. I don't think anyone's ever told anyone what to say on any of our shows, and that's why it stays authentic. That's why the fans keep coming back.
So going back to you made a quick comment there about audio and video. And I know one of the things you guys love to do is produce the show when something happens. Like So explain to the audience how you do that, because you know, conventional television, right? Like I'm way older than you guys, but for me it was like, you know, TV trays, Hockey Night in Canada, Sunday night was Disney, you know, Thursday night was movie night. But like, give the audience, like, how does that happen now in real time?
Well, I mean, I'll start, Jay. Maybe you can jump in, but we kind of have a two-stage approach. We have a traditional, you know, programming schedule, right? We know that the Leafs Morning Take, our show with Jay Rosehill and Nick Alberga, it's live every single day, Monday to Friday at 11. But then we realized, okay, well, like as soon as the game ends, there's a huge appetite. So we just started going live on YouTube after the games to talk about it. And then we realized, okay, well, like during the playoffs, you know, like people really want something to do for the hour before the game to hear what's going on. So let's just start doing that. And then, you know, we were out for dinner last year in Toronto and a big trade breaks in the NHL for the Flames. Who was that trade again, Jay? I don't remember, but our hosts are there. They're at dinner and they get up. Yeah, that's right. And they get up from dinner and they grab their phone and standing on the side of King Street, they do 10 minutes on what that means for the Flames.
Right.
We put it out live on Instagram, goes live on YouTube. We clip it down and it's out there before anybody can even think about it. So there's a real speed. It's a real discipline. I'll give Amal a huge amount of credit, our head of video production and really the guiding light to the audio video strategy. But because we're not shackled down by things like a traditional broadcast schedule or a radio license or a, you know, newspaper page that gets printed in the morning, you know, the internet's an open canvas. There's no limit on how many times you can post on Instagram in a day. Trust me, we've tried to top it out.
Right.
You can post as many times as there's news. So
Jay was trying to out comment the internet.
Exactly. And the appetite, what we found is as we started posting more, we definitely had a conversation, Jay, about are we saturating the market with too much content, right? Are there really that many things to talk about the Oilers?
And
there are, like there is, so the appetite from fandom is bottomless. So the more we post, the more engagement we get. People want to spend more time with us. People are on these little devices all day. This is how they consume our content, and we just got to keep filling their feed with as many things as they want to see.
Yeah, we don't want to lose their attention. It's don't let anyone ever tell you that you have to limit your posts because of the algorithm. Like, you make good content with your audience in mind, they will engage with it, and then the algorithm will push it. We've never had an issue. We take a fire hose approach to everything we do, and we have a well above industry average engagement rates, top tier engagement rates with our content, because that engagement is in mind. And going back to the barn burner Flames trade example Adam provided, no one told them to go do that.
Right.
They went and did it, and it's because they feel they owe that to their audience, their community, right? And it's like it's that DNA, and it's that, you know, like that's what allows us to be different. And being first to market on that stuff, you also garner a lot of new attention too, which is now it's a mechanism to help us grow. So speed's super important in that, but we work with people that think that that's important as well, and the byproduct is audience growth and strong metrics and all that stuff, and just a loyal, sticky community.
And to your point, the fans love it because these guys just interrupted their dinner. I'm sure they're talking about what they're eating, and then a little instant sidewalk floss, and off you go and run a 10-minute hit.
Yep.
Adam, to your point, like, people are always on their devices. I see it in my office, subtle shot, far too often. But so what's the pitch? Let's go back to like the metrics, the storyline. You've got, Will and Alex or Jeff. What's the metrics pitch? And not only that, but the business case to potential advertisers, and how do you take them through that? Because when you put 17,000 pieces out, some of them are going to be strong and some of them are going to be, they're going to be surrounding, they're kind of like building up. So somebody's got to be on the top of the hill. But how does it work? And what am I buying?
So in a lot of ways, we kind of think of it like a traditional sponsorship marketing piece, right?
Okay.
You're going to come in and we typically want one sponsor for one vertical in one category.
Okay.
So we're going to go partner with Coors Light. You're going to be the official beer of Will and Alex and of Hello and Welcome. So you're getting that ownable piece that you get when you sponsor, a more traditional property.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talk about engagement that Jay talked about on social. So not only are you going to get the reach, right? You're going to get impressions, you're going to get frequency because we post a lot, but you're going to actually get people engaging with the content. And then the last piece that we really pitch is, beyond spots and dots. Anybody can go and buy $100 million with Meta of, pre-roll of, in-stream ads. We're talking about integrating your brand and integrating your product directly into the content that we produce. So, we did I'll use the Coors Light example again, when the Raptors unveiled their 30th anniversary cans, we got those ahead of time. We teased that there's this cool new product coming from Coors Light for Raptors fans, revealed what these cool cans like with the retro Raptors colors. Will and Alex genuinely opened up the box live on air and brought out the cans and tried the beer live on air. That's something that you can't really buy going through a traditional digital platform. Doesn't really translate on spots and dots, and it's hard to do. So it's like a real integration.
Sure makes somebody's boss happy.
And it looks fantastic on a rap report when you're a media.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the pitch. And then, the last thing, which is the under-threading of it all, is the audience is incredible. It's this 18 to 34, 18 to 49-year-old hyper engaged sports fan. Like, tell me there isn't a brand that has that demo on their media plan. That's who everybody wants to buy. Right. So I think it's like an unsaturated market. It's, engagement that's really above average, and it's that integration with our talent and our hosts and our community. And we started bringing those things offline a lot more in the last couple of years. So creating branded experiences. I talked about, the event at Holt Renfrew. We do a pond hockey tournament at the Jasper Park Lodge every year. Where we
I know somebody who hasn't been invited yet to the pond.
Mark,
I'm just throwing it out there. Just letting you know.
Here.
Anybody need a 7 goals a game against goalie? 7 goals against goalie? There you go.
We have bar partners where we say, hey, it's the Calgary Flames season opener game.
Yeah.
We're going to bring 250 people into your bar. People are going to be wearing Flames jerseys, and maybe there's a promotion for Budweiser while we're there. And that's bringing that like millions of engagement online into a few hundred actual people in a real location. That's hard to do. Talk to a sponsorship marketing, experiential marketing person, being able to do all those things. And frankly, less expensive than signing a 10-year deal with MLSE. So, there's a lot.
You kind of feel like I'm way older. You talked about 10 years ago, talking about podcasting. You feel like community radio to me 20 years ago, right? With the promo van and the bar nights, like.
I mean, listen, my first job was in radio. So in some ways, like, it's a bit of a radio playbook, and a lot of our hosts are former radio guys. It's like, not just national brands we're working with too. Honestly, some of our best partners are local brands that have looked at the media landscape in Canada collapsing, have said, okay, I don't have a local print publication anymore that anybody reads. So I can't buy any flyers in the local newspaper.
Right.
I don't have a local sports station anymore. They've gone out of business. How do I reach people specifically in Edmonton or in Calgary? So we have great partnerships with local car dealerships, local law firms, local bars. And then on top of that, we have the big national partnerships with the Tangerine or the Airbnb or Coors Light. And those two things together, I think, are, again, like the community secret sauce.
It's a great combination.
Yeah.
I think too often as a marketer in Toronto, we forget about like I grew up in a town of 25,000 people, and you delivered the daily paper that's no longer there, right? And listen to the radio station that's no longer there. Um, I kind of have two questions for you as before we close things out. And I'm gonna start with you, Jay. You know, you've talked about potentially having the A or the C on your shirt. You're thinking about the locker room. How do you spot, like, how do you coach without the title coach, the talent, the up and coming talent, the creators, and like just let them do their thing, or are you kind of the ultimate mentor? Like, how does that work? Because I think what you guys do is so different, but some of these stars you're bringing over might be a bit of culture shock. Like, oh my gosh, so how's that work? What's your approach?
Yeah, well, like I guess if you're talking about someone experienced coming over, yeah, there's some habits and expectations we got to work through and bring down those walls and let them know that they can actually fly. You know, I'm just my mission is to be like the voice of empowerment. So whether it be a young person, to paint that picture about how, we can show you someone that we brought on to only write articles about the junior team, who is now leading up and driving his own show, which is a key asset to the business, and point to that ascent. Or bringing in a top talent and explaining like the pirate ship that is the digital landscape and things that you can do, and the freedom that you have. Like, for me, it's that empowerment piece.
Mhm.
The real interesting thing now that we've built is now that we have this locker room, is this internal mentorship.
Cool.
You got Jeff Emerick doing air checks on our guys and mentoring, our young guys, because this is something like he had done for him, and he wants to make sure he passes that down. Like that in itself as a value proposition to someone wanting to come is like mind blowing, right? And we have that, that culture of help and raising the tide, right? And that's something that's beautiful that's come. But once again, it's buying into the mindset, buying into the brand, that cultivates that. But yeah, like I facilitate, and I just kind of remove the borders, or remove the obstacles that they see.
Love it. Love the empowerment approach. Adam, you were talking about being 10 years ago, talking about podcasts. So what's the next channel, the next platform? Like what's kind of, I see a lot of brands building WhatsApp communities. I see people, chat GPTs replaced, traditional search. You've got all these different things, live shopping. I mean, everybody who works with me is yelling at me that everything we're doing should be on Discord. I'm like, what? So you're the guy. What are the channels that people should be thinking about, and where's the Nation Network headed?
Well, I'll say it's changing fast. So the last 3 years ago, when I said the word podcast, people assumed you meant audio.
Yeah.
Today, most podcast viewing is actually video. It's really not a podcast anymore. It's primarily YouTube first, going out on other channels. So that's been a big pivot. And listen, from a production standpoint, it's a much heavier load to produce a lot of hours of live video than just live audio. But the uplift in terms of the engagement, the discoverability on YouTube, and the way that brands can show up is more than worth it. From a community standpoint, WhatsApp group and Discord channels are massive, and other places within our business outside of Canada. So the Nation Networks are Canadian vertical, but in Latin America, they're 3 years or 5 years ahead of us on that. WhatsApp groups are the primary social channel where people chat about their groups. We have, groups down there with millions of people that are fans of, River Plate in Argentina, and WhatsApp group is their that's their social channel. That's where they chat about the team during the match. So that's definitely coming here in Canada. I think the AI piece is something that we're figuring out how to unlock. I think it's on the back end, helping us be more efficient in producing content, uploading content, and getting it out to people quickly and efficiently. But I think that there's a lot of tools that we have. I look at dailyfaceoff.com as primarily a fantasy hockey website, a tool for people who want to check lineups, see who started in goal, want to know who to draft, want to know what's going on in the NHL that day and injury updates. There's a layer of AI we can enable on Daily Faceoff to make the experience better for the user. And if it's better for the user, better for the fan, they're going to come back and continue spending time with us. But publishing a bunch of articles is, not the core part of the business anymore, where, Jay would have said, well, you just upload more articles and you get more page views. And that was the business a little while ago. And that's not it anymore.
Yeah, no, it's, something we've been good at is we go where the attention is. So obviously,
I'm hearing a Gretzky quote in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Go where is go where the puck is going. Yeah. But that's been a strength, and I'm not saying we're on all platforms, we're on all the major ones, and as trends kind of come into Canada, because we sometimes lag behind other markets,
Right.
we will make sure we be there, or that we show up there, or we're thinking about it before it becomes a thing, and start playing around there. I remember things like TikTok in its early days, like from Musical.ly to TikTok, like we started with like, well, let's just try with one brand and see where it goes. Like, holy crap, okay,
Yeah.
this is crazy. We've got to scale out these efforts and making sure we're bringing on attracting content creators that appease that type of audience. So yeah, we have to stay agile. We have to move around where attention goes, because that's always going to change, and habits are going to change, and technology is going to change. And we have to have a super open mind to that. We can't just be fixated of like, we're just a blog, because if that was the case, we would be a tenth the size.
Understood. So listen, thanks for this. Adam, if somebody wants to figure out a way to be a change-making marketer, how do they find you guys, speaking of skating to where the puck's going?
If they want to come be a change maker and work with the Nation Network, they can email me. They can find me on LinkedIn, or they can find me on Twitter or X, to be honest. But my email is, or maybe you'll put in the description of the podcast as well, is acborn@bettercollective.com. Send me an email. I will respond, or follow me on Twitter, or message me on LinkedIn, and we'll tell you everything we have to know. I think that, we are still that challenger brand in Canada, although we're getting bigger and bigger. I don't know what's between challenger brand and established legacy media. We're somewhere between those two right now. So as we grow, our partners are critical to that growth. So excited to hear from people.
Well, thanks very much. And I look forward to having more conversations with you guys and seeing how you grow. And I don't think it'll ever be legacy. You'll always be challenging and growing. So appreciate your time.
Thanks Mark.